It's evident that at least 5 people have been killed, several displaced in flash floods there after heavy downpour in the capital Nairobi and across other towns in Kenya. And of course, weather experts are warning, they're saying that, Kenyans should brace themselves for even more rainfall in the coming few days. In studio, once again, I have Peter Ambejos, the Director, Kenya Meteorological Department, with me right now. Good morning, Peter. Welcome to the program.
Morning,
We've seen a lot of destruction there, as we've already seen from that report by Caroline B. Is it the worst? Is this the worst kind of rainfall we've seen?
It is not the worst kind of rainfall we have seen. We've been having such events recurring in a number of years. I think what Kenyans need to do is do what we call adaptation.
Yes.
In our major cities, for example, I think we need to open up the drainage systems. We know that in the major cities there's a lot of tarmac, and therefore whatever rainfall we get goes down as simply as runoff. So we really need drainage systems that can accommodate the kind of heavy rainfall powers like we had in Nairobi from Wednesday up to yesterday morning. I think I need to mention here also that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change,
yes,
the institution responsible for climate change issues, has categorically indicated that the extremes in terms of weather are likely to become more intense and more frequent.
We're going to talk about the climate change shortly. I know you're a seasoned climate scientist, but let's talk about the timely weather information the Kenya Meteorological Department has been giving out. First of all, you've been commended a lot for the accurate information that you're giving. Perhaps you can tell us, the reason behind that. And do you think that's enough? And do you think, authorities, relevant authorities, do act upon, the reports that you normally release?
Thank you for the compliment in terms of the accuracy of the information that I've been giving. What we know is that we have diversified our channels of dissemination of information, and therefore the uptake has gone up. There are quite a number of people who get the information that we channel out there. And like you said, I think the accuracy is quite good. I think the authorities and the general public need to know what to do when. If you look at the deaths that have occurred, there are a number of people who have been crossing, moving waters. And you are not sure about the depth of that water, you're not sure about the speed. We normally caution that in case of any flood, kindly don't move through. You are not sure about the depth and you're not sure about the speed. You can be swept away whether you are walking on foot or whether you're on a bicycle or whether you're on a motorbike or even in a vehicle. So I think we need to caution people on what we need to do in case of such floods.
Yes.
In places where we have lightning strikes, for example, when it's raining, it's recommended that you don't walk in the open fields. Don't shelter under tall trees, because those are the ones that attract lightning. Don't shelter in the house where we have grilled windows. And if you're in the house and there's a bit of water, put on slippers. They are simple things, but they can really
save people's lives. So how does the forecast, I know this is something that you've issued in a press briefing earlier, but how does the forecast look like, not just in Nairobi, but across the country? Should Kenyans continue bracing themselves for more rainfall in the coming days?
Yeah, we updated on the advisory yesterday, and we've looked at the next 5 days. We need to brace ourselves for more rainfall in a number of areas. For example, today we are expecting that the counties of Garissa, the northern parts of Tana River, Lamu, Marsabit, South Nyanza, Mount Elgon, Turkana, and Pokot, bordering Uganda mainly, are likely to get
these are mostly northern part of the country, see?
The southern parts. The Garissa is on the eastern part, same to Tana River. And if you come to South Nyanza, Lamu, Marsabit, those are the areas that are likely to get fairly heavy rainfall by today. And then come to tomorrow, which is Saturday, we are looking at the southeastern lowlands, mainly parts of Makueni, Machakos, and Kitui, not with the same intensities that we saw on Wednesday and Thursday. And then come Sunday, Kitui, northwestern Tana River are the ones that are likely to get rainfall. And then on Monday, areas in Narok, Taita Taveta, and Kwale are likely to get fairly heavy rainfall.
Yes, Mr. Mbej, let's talk about climate change. This is a subject that has been highly politicized. Some even leaders coming out publicly said they don't even believe in it. So would you attribute the current situation in Kenya to climate change?
Like I've said, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has clearly stated that the extremes are likely to become more frequent and more intense. And we are seeing it in Kenya. Climate change is here with us. If you go to the Western Highlands, for example, where the temperatures are such that mosquitoes do not thrive. You find mosquitoes are now thriving, and we are having malaria episodes in some of those areas.
Yeah.
Go to Mount Kenya, for example, the glaciers are really declining because of warming of the climate and so on and so forth. And we are seeing the impacts in a year-to-year basis. So climate change is here with us, and those who are disputing for their own benefit, I'm not sure, but we really need to do what is called adaptation. Things are not as they used to be in the 1960s and 1970s.
Things are different now.
Things are very different.
Now, let's talk about, what the various government arms are doing. Perhaps you've done your homework, basically, fairly speaking. You've already given us the focus. Do you think some sort of a multi-agency kind of approach is needed? You've talked about the risk of, disease outbreak. We've seen, sewer system, blocking, drainage system blocking in various towns. Do you think there's need to have some sort of a multi-agency approach towards this?
There's a certain need to have a multi-agency approach to all this. And normally, once we have given out information that we are likely to see certain extremes, I know that there are committees that are normally set up to address contingency plans, even in the long term. In the short term, for example, we have quite a number of institutions like the Red Cross, the National Disaster Operations Center, which really take action on where we have indicated that we are likely to see certain extremes. So certain things are going on, but I think we need to address them fairly effectively so that we don't see the kind of scenarios that we are seeing yesterday.
Let's talk about one area that is normally prone to floods, and that is Budalangi. It's been hitting headlines left, right, and center. Yeah. What is happening this time around? Because I'm not seeing any story with regards to Budalangi. What has been done differently there?
Thank you so much. For Budalangi, there was a project supported by the World Bank, implemented by the Office of the President, the special programs, the former special programs, and the Kenya Meteorological Department, where we do flood forecasting on a daily basis. So there's a model that we run for Budalangi. We have installed automatic weather stations in the Nzoia Basin that automatically transmit information to the headquarters in Nairobi every 1 hour. And based on that data, we run models for Budalangi. And then there are thresholds that have been set. If the models show that we are likely to hit that threshold within the next 24 hours, we normally send an alert to Budalangi. We also install a community radio station that transmits the information in their mother tongue. The advantage is that the flooding in Budalangi is mainly because of heavy rainfall in places like Cherengani Hills and so on and so forth. And it takes about 2 days once you have identified that flooding is potential. So it gives them time to really move out of those areas. Yeah.
And speaking of focused, I mean, it's not just rains that you normally look into. You also tell people about, the lack of it, yes. that is droughts. And we're seeing a lot of water going to west, especially during this, flooding season. Yeah. Do you think once again the relevant government authorities should jump in and make sure that they engage in water harvesting?
It's important to engage in water harvesting. Like you said, we have floods today, tomorrow we are in a dry spell. And yet, if you had harvested this water, it would assist you when you have the dry spell. So I think we need concerted efforts to make sure that people in even high potential areas harvest whatever comes down. Also developing dams that can hold this water, I think, is key in quite a number of areas to assist when we have rainfall deficits.
You've given us already the focus of Mandera, Garissa, and all those areas, Marsabit and Turkana as well. I'm sure the city dwellers, normally face a lot of, problems when it comes to flooding. How does the focus look like for Nairobi?
For Nairobi, we are not anticipating the kind of intensity that we saw on Wednesday night, Thursday morning as such. But what we need to caution is that the cells are already saturated, so whatever amount we get can easily lead to flooding again in Nairobi. But let me again state that it might not be to the magnitude that we saw from Wednesday night up to yesterday morning. But I think we need to stress that because the soils are saturated, whatever amount we get is likely to cause a bit of flooding. But let me repeat that when the water is moving, please don't walk through. I think if you read the stories about the people who are perished, they are trying to cross a river or a stream or moving water. And like I said, you cannot be sure about the depth, you cannot be sure about the speed of that water.
One final question, Mr. Mbeje, before we link up with our reporter Timothy Otieno is on the ground. Giving timely weather information is one thing. Yes. And, acting on this report is another. Do you feel like, people really take this focus, the reports you're giving out seriously?
I can assure you that people are taking focus very seriously. Whatever information we send out is utilized. This can be manifested by the fact that anytime we delay to generate certain information and send it out, we start getting phone calls. So we are very sure that people are taking this information seriously. We know that whenever we generate a product that indicates we are likely to see certain extremes, the government takes it up and the contingency plans are prepared using several agencies to make sure that we minimize the impacts that are related to any extremes.
Yeah, let me take a report on NEMA here, and I'll give you the last word shortly. So even as the rain continues to pound parts of the country, the National Environmental Management Authority, well known as NEMA, now says the plastic ban was a blessing, as the rains and the plastics will have made matters even worse. Let's listen into what they had to say.
We have noticed that this year there is significantly less plastic bags, flat bags, carrier bags, that type. But more noticeable is the presence and large volumes of plastic bottles and other debris. So it's an opportunity for counties to try and mop up what is being left by the side of the river. We are also taking this opportunity to caution Kenyans, because we've seen all morning in social media people trying to beat the floods in cars, in motorbikes, or on foot. And we are cautioning Kenyans against that. We'd like also to ask all those who are in riverbanks, along riverbanks, to move to safer areas. Those also in areas that have been predicted by the meteorological department to continue having rains, like Muranga and the Ahire, Kisii, and Nyeri, and other sections where we are likely to have landslides, to take caution and move out, and to be very aware of their surroundings when it's raining. We are also telling motorists, please keep off areas that are flooded, particularly sections where the water level goes above and hides the tires of the vehicle. Please do not attempt to go into those areas.
Floods there wreaking havoc in the capital, Nairobi. And with me in studio still is Peter Mbejo, the acting Kenya, who is the director, Kenya Meteorological Department. Now, Peter, let me give you the last word, even as you are going to make your final comment. Perhaps, what is the importance of weather information? There are a lot of people who take it for granted.
Well, weather information is very key in the activities that people carry out. The way you put on depends on the weather.
Yes.
Whether you have, if it's cold, you know that you need to, take care of yourself. Virtually all the sectors, economic sectors, are impacted by the weather. Agriculture, when to plant, and so on and so forth is impacted. I can tell you that for aviation, we give them information every 30 minutes. If you're flying from Nairobi to Heathrow, for example, you have to get information from Kenya Med Department through Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. So there are many sectors, health, energy, water resources that are impacted by
agriculture as well, I'm sure.
Agriculture as well, and even disaster management. So it's very important that people start taking weather information seriously. Like I said, there are quite a number of people who are utilizing the information, but we really need to enhance this and make sure that we also get the grassroots. So it's essential that we take weather information seriously. And if you go to our website, we generate information on different timescales. We have the seasonal forecast that we normally prepare just prior to the beginning of the main rainfall seasons.
Yes.
And we also do a monthly forecast as an update of the seasonal. Every Monday, we churn out a 7-day forecast that gives information what is going to happen in the next 7 days. And we also review what has happened in the last 7 days. And every day, we do a 5-day forecast. So we drop one day and give you a forecast for the next 5 days. And every day, we also do a daily forecast. Apart from that, we also prepare the advisories that we send out anytime we expect certain extremes. And many other applications like in agriculture, in health, and so on and so forth. So it's important that people take them seriously. And probably if you want to know more about our operations, every 23rd of March, we normally have a World Meteorological Day. It's Friday next week. And every year we have a theme. It's celebrated worldwide by the World Meteorological Organization and also the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services. So on 23rd is an open day.
So people can come and learn more about what the Meteorological Department does.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Peter Mbejo, for your input. He's the Kenya Meteorological Department Director there. He's the boss of the weathermen in this country. And